Hello lovely people, my name's Nicole and today I have my June wrap up for you guys. June was an okay reading month. I didn't feel like I was reading all that much, but I mean I did get a pretty substantial stack of books at the end of the month. So, you know, it all kind of evens out, I guess. But let's just jump right in. The first book I read was When Dimple Met Rishi by Sandhya Menon. My copy is an ARC, but it is out now. I really enjoyed this. First of all, it was just cool to read about sort of another culture. It takes place in America, but the main characters' families are both Indian, and there's a lot of discussion of sort of their traditions, especially when it comes to relationships and marriage. Because one of the main plot lines is the two main characters' parents want them to get married and sort of have an arranged marriage. I fell in love with the characters, both the main characters and the side characters. There was some cool sort of morality discussions of the importance of culture and tradition versus the importance of adapting to sort of a new place and a new time, and I just really enjoyed this. It was a great sort of romantic comedy type thing and it was so much fun. So I gave this 5 stars. Then I read How to Make a Wish by Ashley Herring Blake and I absolutely loved this. I mean, I've been hearing people talk about it since like ARC started going out and about how amazing it is, and it 100% lived up to all the hype. This had some really great explorations of parent-child relationships and also explorations of sexuality. The main character is bisexual, and the girl she starts dating in this book is so wonderful. One of the things I liked about this was that all the characters felt really humanized. There was no one who was, you know, just a villain or anyone who was sort of an idealized version of a person. No one in this book was perfect. Everyone made stupid mistakes and, you know, had their impulsive moments and fought with their friends over stupid things. But even the characters who were kind of jerks had their redeeming moments, and it was just done in a way that I felt like all the characters were really realistic and just really well done, and obviously the romance was adorable, so I gave this one 5 stars as well. Then I read The Heartbeats of Wing Jones, and again my copy is an ARC, although it is already out. I really liked this. It was very emotionally intense. In the first just little bit of it, the main character's brother, who she like idolizes, gets in a really bad car crash that he gets blamed for. There's a lot of discussion of family in here. There's a lot of discussion of race. I believe the main character, if I recall, is half, I think, Chinese, half black, and that's something that it gets addressed a lot. Both of her grandmothers live with the family and there's a bit of a sort of culture clash there. And then one of the other main plot lines of this book is that in order to cope with everything that's going on in her life, the main character starts running. On one hand, you have her sort of developing this relationship with her brother's best friend, and on the other hand, she's dealing with the fact that all of a sudden people are wanting her to run on the track team and like compete, and she's dealing with the stress of that on top of everything else. And I just think it was a really interesting sort of character study type book that had enough actual plot in it to keep it interesting, but also just really delved in deep to who these people are and how what's going on in their lives is affecting them. And I really enjoyed it, so I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. Then I read Dress Codes for Small Towns by Courtney Stevens. I was kind of in a very specific reading mood this month, and all the books that fit that mood just happened to be ARCs. But reading this one, I didn't not like it, but I found it kind of hard to follow in certain ways. Plot-wise, it wasn't too bad, but I just found it really hard to follow where the main character was emotionally. She sort of jumped around having romantic relationships or crushes on a number of her different friends, and it's not that I have a problem with that, like that's fine, you could have multiple love interests, whatever, but I just found it hard to follow at each point like who she was interested in. There was some really good friendship moments, some really good exploration of this sort of small town life. It felt very sort of zoomed in on just this one town, if that makes sense. Like the focus was very much on this one place, this one group of people. I just found a lot of the relationship stuff to be kind of fuzzy as to what was going on a lot of the time. I did enjoy it, but I did find it a little bit hard to follow, so I ended up giving it 3.75 stars. Then I read Tosh Hearts Tolstoy by Catherine Ormsby. I'm currently lending my copy to a friend. Again, I read the ARC version, so I can't account for any changes made in the final copy, but I absolutely loved this. The main character was charming and entertaining to read from, and I loved her sort of imaginary relationship with the Leo Tolstoy poster that she had on her wall. It was just kind of funny and adorable. The relationship she had with her sister felt really just in some moments kind of painfully true to my own experience with my sister. I absolutely loved the literary web series adaptation aspect of this because I love literary web series adaptations, and so reading a sort of behind the scenes view was a lot of fun. I genuinely would love to watch Tosh's web series because it sounds awesome, and there was really great asexuality representation. I want to clarify that when I say there's great asexuality representation, that's coming from an outside perspective. I'm not ace, so I can't actually super accurately account for how good it is, but based on what I've heard from other people, what I saw reading it, and from what I've seen other people discussing it about their experiences being ace, it seems like it was really great. And it's just a really charming book. There are definitely some heart-wrenching moments, but overall I just had so much fun reading it and I highly recommend it. I ended up giving it 5 stars. Then I read Ramona Blue by Julie Murphy, and honestly, I'm having a little bit of a hard time remembering the details of what I thought about this, which is generally kind of a telling sign. I did really enjoy it, and there were some great discussions of bisexuality in it. The main character starts off the book thinking that she's a lesbian and then falls for a guy, and so that aspect was really well explored. For the most part, I liked the characters. I do think there were a few times where I got frustrated with them just because they were being stubborn or stupid or whatever. I think the main issue that I had was the main character's sister, but it makes sense that I had issues with that because part of the initial plot is that Ramona's sister just got pregnant and is dealing with her boyfriend being kind of a jerk and blah blah blah. And I just genuinely do not like teen pregnancy storylines. They make me very uncomfortable, so it makes sense that that's the one main issue I had. And unfortunately, I didn't write a Goodreads review for it. I was really slacking on that this month, so I don't have anything to look back on to remember how I felt about it. I enjoyed it. I remember really loving the main love interest, but I do recall getting frustrated at times with the main character. I did end up giving it 4.5 stars. So I did really like it. Clearly, it didn't stick around in my brain all that well. Then I read The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, and I was borrowing my copy from someone, so I do not have a physical copy to show you guys today. And I don't want to say too much about this because it doesn't come out until January, so like it's pretty far off. I was very lucky to be able to borrow an ARC, and it was, guys, like it was so good. I absolutely loved it. I mean, I love Holly Black's writing. I loved her other books. It did feel very sort of reminiscent writing style topically of The Darkest Part of the Forest, which I absolutely adored. It was kind of deliciously dark at times, and there was some great magic aspects, some great sort of cool gray morality fairy aspects, and I'm pretty sure it's the start of a series, and I'm not sure if the books are going to be like companion novels each following a different sister's perspective, or if the books are going to be like direct sequels to each other. Either one would kind of make sense and kind of not make sense for various reasons, but I really loved this book, and I cannot wait for it to be out in the world. I think I'm going to do a longer review that I will post much closer to the release date, but I did end up giving it 5 stars. Then I read Runaways, The Complete Collection, Volume 1, and I picked this up because Rainbow Rowell is doing a new run of Runaways in the fall. I want to say the first issue comes out in like September. I want to catch up on the story before she started writing it, so I picked this one up. It's kind of massive for a comic book, and I really loved this. I didn't go into it with like any expectations. I didn't know what it was about. Hadn't heard much about it, but I absolutely loved it. It was funny and charming, and I loved how the teenagers actually acted like teenagers. Each character felt interesting and distinct, and I just really enjoyed it. So if you're looking for a fun, awesome sort of YA superhero comic book. I highly recommend this. I ended up giving this first volume 5 stars. Then I read Who Graphica by Simon Guerrier, Steve O'Brien, and Ben Morris, and this is so cool. This is a book of infographics about Doctor Who. So like if you love infographics as I do and you love Doctor Who, highly recommend it. It's just so much fun, and there's so many different kinds of infographics. A couple of the ones I found a little bit difficult to figure out actually what was going on in them, what they were talking about, but overall this was just a lot of fun, and if you like Doctor Who, you should check it out. I ended up giving it 4 stars, so I mean, I don't really have anything too in-depth to say about it. They explored some really cool different aspects of the show in here, things that I would never have thought of, but it's a lot of fun. Then I read Camp Half-Blood Confidential by Rick Riordan. Basically, the other day, the Percy Jackson musical soundtrack was released for streaming. It's now actually out in the world. You can just purchase it. But I was streaming the musical and I was just, I was in such a Percy Jackson mood, and it's so good. Seriously, guys, it's amazing. It is the adaptation we deserve. But I just needed to read something Percy Jackson, and I had this on my shelf and I hadn't read it yet. And basically this is a intro to Camp Half-Blood, like for new campers. It's just a lot of fun. There's some cool stories in there. There's some appearances from some of my faves. There's cute moments where Percy refers to Will as Nico's boyfriend and Annabeth as his girlfriend, and it's just like little things like that that always get me so giddy and excited, because I waited so long for some of those couples to get together, and now they're just like calling each other their like girlfriend and boyfriend, and they're so cute. I love them so much. Anyway, I just had so much fun reading this, and like I read it while listening to the soundtrack, and it was awesome, and I gave it 5 stars. And then the final book I read this month was Dreadnought by April Daniels, and this is about a trans superhero, and it was really cool. So there's a lot of really cool discussion of gender, and then of course there's the with great power comes great responsibility debate, and some really cool sort of morality stuff, whether the main character has to decide whether she wants to join the kind of a Justice League type organization, Avengers type organization, or whether she wants to be a Grey Cape, which is a little bit more of the gray morality. They're not like evil, they're not causing a harm, but they don't necessarily follow all the rules. Or of course she could either go evil or just not use her powers at all. I do want to give some trigger warnings for this book because it does get kind of emotionally intense. The main character's father is pretty abusive emotionally and verbally. There's a lot of discussion of transphobia in the book. None of it is glorified or done in a way that makes it seem like it's okay. It's very much not okay, but it is kind of intense. And then there's also a couple moments of sexual harassment in here. But overall, it's, I think, a great book. I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. So those are all the books I read this month. If you read any of them, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Let me know what book I should read next. I love you guys, and I will see you later. Bye!